what are negative prompts, how and when do you use them, and how can you get the most out of them. Hello people of Playground, Happy New Year, it's great to be back. I hope you all had a great holiday season. And in the spirit of the new year, we're going to cover negative prompts. But in the sense that using negative prompts can create some positive results. For example, I have a pre-selected prompt here. We're going to leave the negative prompts empty, and I'm going to show you with Stable Diffusion 1.5. I'm going to go ahead and generate this image. And we see it's not the best result. It's sort of following the prompt, but in terms of the details of the eyes, the quality of the hat, the details of the bow tie, it's not that great. Now to help with the issues, we have something here called Exclude from Image, which is known as your negative prompts. Typically, when you start generating images, we have some default words that populates automatically, although I've added cropped as an additional word. We'll generate this image and compare the two. Now, if we look at them side by side, we clearly see the benefits of using negative prompts. It cleans up the image. It tends to give it better details, but I'd like to emphasize that it's not a guarantee. Negative prompts will only help minimize those problematic issues. Another thing I want to point out with Stable Diffusion 1.5, there is some benefit to using more negative prompts. It's an older model and it's not as fine-tuned. But the other option we have here on Playground is if you go to Exclude from Image, and if you select the drop-down, there's an option here to remove common issues. Let's generate the image using this, and you see that it's also a cleaner image. Now this one is more true to the original in terms of color. We do see a loss of some of the yellow here. What's happening here is that we have something called a negative embedding. Think of it as a trained file to remove unwanted things in your image as well. Now it only works for the raw Stable Diffusion 1.5. If you put a filter on, that option's not available. But I'm not going to dwell too much on Stable Diffusion 1.5 because it's an older model. It's a bit harder to work with. But we're going to switch this to Stable Diffusion XL. You can even do this with Playground V2. And we're going to remove the negative prompts for now. And the only change I'm going to make is switching this to 1024 by 1024 because that's a native resolution for SDXL. Whereas with SD 1.5, it's 512 by 512. I'm going to generate this image using the same seed, same settings, except it's just a tad bigger. So you see here with the SDXL base model, we get a much better result, nice and clean. He is missing the top hat, but overall it's just a better image even without using negative prompts. So my point is with SDXL, you no longer need all these negative prompts to get great results. If anything, I would start without negative prompts and only use the ones that are necessary. With that being said, I want to give you some practical examples as always. If we look at these set of images, if I click on one of these images, you're going to see that this prompt has no negative prompts. The bottom set of images has ugly, deformed, warped, and blurry. Now stylistically they look very similar, but if we put two of them side by side here, once again this is with negative prompts, this is without. And although both images give me the style that I want, I actually prefer the one without negative prompts because it just has more of that grungy, edgy type of look, where this one looks just a tad more cleaner. And the key word here is the negative prompt ugly. Typically when you use ugly in your negative prompt, it's gonna make things look prettier, right? More cleaner. But if you want an edgy, gritty type of look, you probably want to remove ugly from your negative prompts. This was using the Niji filter. In these examples, it was the exact same prompt, but we have no negative prompt here using the Starlight filter, and then these ones with negative prompts. Once again, if we take a closer look at these, you see the edginess, the grittiness on this side with no negative prompts, and then this one is with the negative prompts. A lot more cleaner, less edgy. So we get the same effect with a different filter, and you can clearly see the differences between the two. Now sometimes when you prompt for certain specifics, the AI may seem like it's ignoring your prompt. In this case, I have a portrait of a dude here. I wanted him to have hair like this, like slick back hair, but I was getting all these results with short but curly hair. And right away, out of 8 images, if only one was giving me that slick back hair, my thought right away was to put curly hair into the negative prompt. And by doing that, I got the hairstyle I was looking for in all the 8 images. For this set of images, I was trying to do more of a digital painting style of a city with wet streets, neon lights, but I wanted it isolated. And for whatever reasons, I just kept getting people in my images. Like in this example here, we have some random people, and even more so here. So of course, what I did was put people, crowds, humans into the negative prompts. And sure enough, with all the images, you see that we have isolated streets with no people. Now, one thing that most people overlook is the prompt guidance. For example, I have people in the negative prompt, but my prompt guidance is at 3. And you see that I still have people in my shots here. Now, it's more effective to add more negative prompts, as I did in the previous example, by adding humans, people, crowds. That did a better job. But prompt guidance can also help to nudge your main prompt closer to what you're prompting for. Like in these examples, I used a prompt guidance of 7 with just the negative prompt people. And I was still getting, one person here, one person there. But increasing the prompt guidance was influencing it just a little bit more. You see here on these examples, there are no people, so I was getting very close. Typically with prompt guidance, you want to stay within 10 to 15 at the most, because as you increase your prompt guidance, it does add more contrast, deeper blacks, deeper shadows, that sort of thing. So you do have to find a balance. So here are a couple images that I ran, same prompt, same settings. And even though in the prompt I have analog photo, it's still giving me this digital-like image. So what I would do in this case now is, let's use this image as an example. So in the negative prompt, I've added the usual stuff, ugly, warped, deformed, blurry, but along with 3D, 2D digital art, CGI drawing in comic. Same settings, same seed, just so we can compare the two. Now, as we look at them side by side, this one is starting to take more of a photorealistic image than the one on the left. I mean, it's not perfect. It could use some touching up, but I think you can see the benefits of using negative prompts in this manner to help shape and mold your image without changing your prompt too much. So in summary, if you're working with Stable Diffusion 1.5, you're likely going to need more negative prompts with SDXL or Playground V2. I highly encourage you to start with very little or none and just add as you go. But there are limits to prompting, and sometimes you need to think out of the box. Make sure to check out this video if you haven't seen it already. Until the next one, my friends, this is Playground.